Hi, I'm back with another video, and this time I thought I'd talk about the electric company on, I think it was Tuesday. All day long we had flickering lights, and so of course it would flicker and make everything go down low and then go back to normal, and so we just assumed that it was everybody using the power grid because in the past they've talked about, people using a lot of the power in, when everybody's at home and during the summer with the air conditioning and the fans and that kind of thing. So we just assumed that's what was going on. Was a lot of people were at home using air conditioning and fans, and so we didn't think anything about it. We did think it was kind of like, when's it gonna stop? But my dad said he thought it was actually doing it the night before too. But we sat there, with it going like that all day, and then Carol, she called me and she asked me if ours was doing that, and I said, yeah, they had been doing it for a while, and she said they hadn't really noticed it. My dad said probably because they didn't have as much, like no lights and that kind of thing on. They probably didn't have very much stuff on around them to really notice. Maybe fans, that kind of thing. But they really didn't pay much attention to it until the last, I think she said, a couple of hours. And one of our neighbors, he across the street from, called them and asked them if their power was doing that, and she said they saw it finally, realized that it was doing that, and they were like, that's weird. And so he said he called the electric company, and so when she called and asked me, she said that they were going to call, and so she wanted to give me the number of who to call in case we wanted to call. And so then when Chuck called, he said that he couldn't figure out who he was supposed to leave the message for. There wasn't very many options, and then she said she called, and she said the same thing. She couldn't figure out who they were supposed to call, and I said I didn't know what you would say because we just assumed, like I said, that the power was, being used, a lot of it, and so none of us knew exactly what to say or who to contact. Once we, got calling them, it was like, who do you leave the message for? And so we're like, well, hopefully they'll get it fixed. And I got off the phone and my dad was like, let me guess, their power's doing the same thing. And she wanted to know if we were. And I said, yeah, and according to them, the neighbor across the street was doing the same thing. So around, I want to say it was still kind of light out. I think it was like 9 something, almost 10. It was still kind of light out. I was standing out, I was fixing to go outside again, and I saw the electric company's vehicle outside the house. I'm like, that doesn't look like a regular vehicle, that looks like the electric company. And so I was watching them, and they went past, and when I got outside, they'd gone past, and they turned into our neighbor across the street's area. And I saw the big bright lights down there, and I could hear them talking. And then I think it's about 10 something, the power went off. They shut it off, and they were out there doing whatever. And so it stayed off for a little while, and then they turned it back on. And then we said that, I can't remember if that was the time that they asked us if it had stopped or if it was still doing it. We said it stopped. I can't remember if it was that time or it was the next time. But they ended up, so we turned all the clocks back to where it's supposed to be. Everything was fine, and then they shut it off again. So then we had to wait and turn all the clocks back to the way they were before. And Carol's like, I need to go to sleep. And I'm like, I'm thinking a lot of people are probably up going, okay, we need to go to sleep. Carol, my dad, a lot of people are like, we need to go to sleep. And then we're talking about all the alarm clocks that were now off, and people were probably going to not be happy the next day. And so finally, they turned it back on the second time, and it stayed on. And everybody went to bed, and I laid down, and all of a sudden, the power went out again. And I'm like, there's no way. I thought they were gone. I'm like, I'm looking out the window, and I could see them out there walking around. And I'm like, I thought they were gone. And then the power, it was off, I think just for a little bit, like maybe a few minutes. I'm not sure if it really registered anything, because sometimes when the power goes out, not all the clocks flip to, 12. They usually will go back to the time it was, and they might be flashing. And so I kind of think that was what happened. And so I'm like, oh, the power came back on. So I was like, everybody go back to sleep. Then it happened again not too long after that, and that time it stayed off a little bit longer. And I told every animal in the house, they all raised their heads up, started looking. I said, started kind of sitting up, standing up. I'm like, nope, everybody, I'm like, everybody go back to sleep. I don't care if the power goes off and there's no fans on. It's darkness. It's like, well, let's all just go to sleep and see if we can go to sleep. They all looked at me and everybody laid down and went back to sleep. I had my phone using it as a flashlight until I could find the other flashlight, the actual flashlight. And I'm like, we're all going to sleep. I said, we're all fine. We'll wait it out and see. And so we all laid back down and everybody went back to sleep. And then all of a sudden the power came back on and I'm looking around going, okay, now we can all go back to bed. And then I think it was, my dad woke up the next day. I can't remember what time it was. And he goes, did the power go off again? And I said, yeah, like another 2 times. And he said his alarm clock said like 1 something. And I'm like, yeah, I think it went off again about 1 something. From what I could tell from the clocks I could see from the living room. So it was one very interesting night, and of course everybody was exhausted the next day. Me and I think every animal in the house slept all day because we were so tired from the night before of, being up or being outside and watching and seeing what was going on. So I have no clue what they figured out, what they were doing out there, other than we could hear like what sounded like they were weed eating something, and they were out there messing with the pole next to our house, which is in our side yard. The electric poles in our side yard, so we could hear them out there and see them moving around and that kind of thing. So we don't know what it was that they determined. And then we weren't sure if they were coming back because all of a sudden they had flags out there and lines marked, but that maybe they're fixing to bring like a cable company stuff out here. A few days before, I think it was like the week before, we got the cable people brought around little cards saying that they're fixing to come out and fixing to do cable stuff. We didn't know that was what they were doing. We couldn't figure out why they were coming out, sending out these cable thingies. We're like, what? We don't have cable out here on our side where we're at. And they said they brought back a second one too, and I'm like, okay, what do I need 2 of them? And then I was talking to the water guy, and he said it had to do with the cable company because they came out on Thursday. I think it was Wednesday or Thursday. He came out and he was telling me that they were having to line everything and flag everything so they knew where everything was. And so I'm like, okay, so apparently all this stuff's being flagged and lined for the cable company who's fixing to bring all that stuff out. So we have the electric companies, we got the water company. I think the glass line people were out here marking theirs. I'm not sure who else is going to be marking theirs out here. But we were having this conversation about the cable company, and it's like, it's been so long since we've had cable because we got satellite. And so we were like, it's been so long, and so we were like, maybe it'd be something to look into. And I went looking, and I'm like, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it's going to be expensive because I remember when we had cable, it was kind of expensive, and I think it's gotten even more expensive. And it's not as many channels. It's more local, but it's not as many different channels. And when I was reading all the reviews and stuff of people, and then reading some of the websites that were discussing which was better, they were suggesting not doing that cable company thing. And then people talk about bundling everything, and I'm like, I'm not bundling, because that's what my mom always said was if they ever brought cable out and we thought about doing it, she was not bundling, because the moment you can't pay something, you're losing it all. And I think that was what Chuck wanted to do. I think he wanted to get cable and bundle and not have to do with satellite and have separate things. And my mom was always like, no, I wouldn't want to do that, because if you can't pay, you lose your phone. And at that time, we had more house phone than we did like cell phones. So we're discussing that about the cable thing, checking into what kind of deals they give. But I'm not sure if we'll actually do that, because to me it seems like it's too expensive and not worth it. And the way people were talking, I was like, I don't think so. So don't know what happened with the electric, and now we got the cable people coming out. We wondered how long that'd be before they came out, because we found out one area around us had cable, but everybody else this way didn't. So apparently they'll be coming in here in the next however many days to put cable in. So I just thought I'd do a quick little electric story of how we have no idea what happened and what they determined, and finding out that we're getting cable out here. Thank you for watching. Bye.